Here, Ron is cane pruning. This is the most labor-intensive method of pruning and involves taking 25 to 30 shoots per plant down to 2 or 3, thousands of cuts. The brush is pulled from the trellis, and later in the year, Ron will run the flail mower over these cuttings to shred and recycle them. In the spring we have bud break. These leaves will eventually become long shoots that will fill the trellis. Because of diseases like black rot, Ron sprays the vineyard regularly throughout the season. New bottles are delivered to the winery prior to bottling in May. Kinkead Ridge wines are handcrafted. Here you see that every cork is put on by hand, every capsule is put on by hand, and every label is put on by hand, one at a time. Our small boutique winery uses a 4-bottle filler. This is probably the smallest filler that money can buy. After the bottles are filled, corked, and labeled, they are put right side up in the carton. They rest for about 45 minutes. At that point, the carton is taped closed and turned upside down. In this way, the wine is always resting on the cork and keeping the corks wet. This is the capsule machine that puts on our high-quality tin capsules. Imagine doing this for 1,500 cases times 12 bottles per case. And this is the label machine, the slowest part of the production line, very hand-intensive. The first pallet stack is put away, ready for release on Memorial Day weekend. It's mid-season. The grapes are still green and hard, and Meg is tying up vines prior to Ron hedging. Ron is using a very sharp hedging knife to hedge the vineyard. This is a very labor-intensive and dangerous process. It is done to shape the vine canopy. Rarely will you see a vineyard this manicured anywhere in the world. The fruit is beginning to turn color, a process known as veraison. Dropping crop, another very labor-intensive process. The clusters which are not fully colored are removed to ensure even ripening of the ones that remain. We also pull thousands of leaves from the fruit zone to allow sun and air to get to the fruit. Harvest begins. Normally the Semillon grapes are the first to be picked, and the Petit Verdot grapes are the last. Harvest generally ranges from mid-September to the very end of October. Pickers are paid by the pound, so every bin is weighed. Bins normally weigh between 25 and 32 pounds. For quality reasons, we often remove black or rotten berries from the cluster. This is Brad Hively of La Vigne Vineyards in Higginsport giving us a hand. Not every harvest day has weather as lovely as this. We picked the 2006 Cabernet in snow flurries and the 2006 Semillon in torrential rain. This is the stemmer crusher. Grapes are tipped into the top of the crusher, the stems wind up in the garbage can, and the grapes and pulp juice wind up in the bin. White wine is pressed immediately. Red wine is fermented and then pressed. We use a bladder press. The bladder inside the press is filled with air, pushing the grapes and pulp against the slats, and the juice winds up in the bin below. The dry pulp that remains is known as the press cake or pomace. This is taken to the back ridge and discarded. Regular punch downs are what give our red wines their beautiful color. All barrels need to be washed and tested for leaks before they're used for the first time. Sanitation in a winery is extremely important. This is a final cleanup after crush. The last event of the year is to bring the fermentation bins back to the farm and put them in the back barn for the season. We won one of the only 2 double gold medals awarded at the American Wine Society competition.